Okay, welcome to video number 2. So we're on question 11, so we'll just get straight back into it. So it says, work out the value of 58 minus 4c when c equals 9. So we've got a little bit of BIDMAS here, okay? So this is a multiplication, okay, because it's 4 times c. So we're going to do that first. So we're going to do 4 times 9. So 4 times 9 is 36. So we can now write that in. We can do 58 minus 36, okay? And then all we have to do is do that sum, because we've substituted the 9 in for the c, and we will have our answer, which is 22, okay? So we can just pop that there. So now we know that that's the value of the sum when we pop c in. Okay, so the next one says x squared minus x when x equals minus 2. Okay, so using BIDMAS, we've got our indices first. So we're going to do our indices first. So we're going to do minus 2 squared. So if we wrote that out, we would have minus 2 times minus 2. Okay, so 2 times 2 is 4. So 2 times 2 is obviously 4. Now the reason that's a positive 4 is because, as we know, if we're working with two negatives, it ends up being a positive, okay? So minus 2 times minus 2 equals positive 4. Okay, so now we've done our indices, we can just take away the x. So that looks like 4 minus 2. Okay, so once again, we are presented with two minuses together. So when two minuses are together, they become a positive. So this actually works out as 4 plus 2, which equals 6. Okay, so that's our answer for that one. Up next then, we've got an expand and simplify. So when you expand, you want to times everything on the inside of the bracket by what's on the outside of the bracket. Okay, so I always draw them like this. So 4 times 4a, well 4 times 4 is 16, and then include the a. And then 4 times 3 is 12. And then we've got the b. And then we've got 3 times a is 3a. We've got positive 3 times minus b. So that means we get minus 3b. Then we just need to simplify it, okay? So we've got 16a plus 3a. That equals 19a. Then we've got 12b minus 3b equals still positive, but we're positive 9b. Okay, so we should have 19a plus 9b. Okay, so same method for this one. So once again, we're going to times everything by the number on the outside of the bracket. So 3 times a is 3a. 3 times 2b. So 3 times 2 is 6. And then we've got our b. Now we've got minus 3 times positive a. So when they're different, we end up still with minus. So we end up with minus 3a. But then we've got minus 3 times minus 4b. So minus 3 times minus 4 actually becomes positive 12. Sorry about the lines. So positive 12b. Okay, so then we've just got to simplify it. So 3a minus 3a. Well, we've got no a's left. And then we've got 6b plus 12b would equal 18b overall. Okay, so we've basically just cancelled out our a's and all we've got left is b's. So that means we've got 18b. Okay, moving on then. So we've got 180 times 6.5. So we're just going to do this as some standard multiplication, but I like to get rid of the decimal and then put it back in later. So I'm going to times this side by 10 to get 65, and I will just remember to divide my answer by 10 at the end, okay? So that means I'm doing 180 times 65. So 5 times 0 is 0. 5 times 8 is 40, but remember we're going to write it like this. 5 times 1 is 5, but then we're going to plus the 4, which equals 9. Okay, so we've done that. Now we're working in the tens column, so we're going to pop our 0 there. So 6 times 0 is 0. 6 times 8 is 48. And then 6 times 1 is just 6, plus the 4 is 10. So then we can just add those two together. So we've got 10,800 plus 900 equals 11,700. But remember, we've got to divide by 10, so because we times by 10 in the first place, so our answer is 1,170. Okay, so that's our final answer for that one. Up next then, we're going to do a division. Okay, now this does include a decimal, but remember the rules are ever so slightly different for dividing. You have to do the same to both parts of the sum. So if I actually want to do, in hindsight, there is no decimal. So let's scratch that. So what we want to do is 1008 just divided by bog old standard 18. So we'll write it out as we always do. So we'll pop 18 here, and we want that to fit into 1008, okay? So we're just going to ask ourselves, how many 18s fit into 1? I'm afraid that's none. Still none for 10, but how many fit into 100? Well, 5 times 18 is 90, so if I put 5 there, but that means I've got 10 left over from my 100. So now we're asking ourselves, well, how many 18s fit into 108? Well, luckily that is 6, okay? So our answer is 56. Okay, so question 17 is just, we're working with bid mass again, okay? So we've got to do the brackets first, okay, because we've got brackets. So 8 minus 3 is 5, so we pop that in, and then we can put the rest of the sum in. So that means that all we really have to do is 12 times 5, which equals 60. So that's our final answer for that one. Same for this one then, so we've got the brackets there first, so we've got to do 13 minus 3 to start with, which equals 10. Then we can do the 3 times 10, and that equals 30, okay, so that's our final answer there. Okay, so for our final one, we're trying to find a fraction of an amount, okay, so here I want to find 9/13. So my first kind of port of call is to figure out what 1/13 is, okay, so to find 1/13, I'm going to do 221 divided by that 13, okay, and that equals 17. So now I've got 1/13, I can then figure out what 9 of them are simply by timesing my 17 by 9. Okay, so 17 times 9 equals 153. Okay, so that's how we work that one out. We just take the amount, so the 221, divide it by whatever on the bottom of the fraction, and then times it by what's on the top. Okay, so next up we've got 260, and we want 11/13. So we do 260 divided by 13, so that equals 20. So now I know what 1/13 is, that's great, that's 20. I now need to times that by 11, so that would be 11 times the 20, and that equals 220. Okay, so now we know that that is 11/13 of the 260. Okay, so hopefully you have managed to mark your answers in a different coloured pen, and you've given yourself a mark out of 20. Please make sure you write your mark out of 20 on your sheet of paper that you've been writing on, and then you need to make sure you've uploaded your question sheet, however you've written it, your picture of your question sheet. I don't mind how you've done it, but it must be uploaded to ShowMyHomework, okay? Once you upload it to ShowMyHomework, I can check it off, and then it gets marked off as completed on there, okay? So please don't email them to me. Please just use the function on ShowMyHomework that says submit. I will see you on Friday for your final piece of maths work this week. Have a lovely rest of your day.